What's your childhood mystery that you finally solved years later? My dad had this weird habit that drove my mom absolutely crazy. Every single night after dinner, he'd disappear into our garage for exactly 20 minutes. Mom would roll her eyes and complain that he was tinkering with junk again. But I was curious. Through our kitchen window, some nights it'd be by the workbench, other nights near the car, sometimes even up on the tool rack. It made no sense. My bike worked perfectly fine, and Dad wasn't really the fix-it type anyway. The weirdest part was how carefully he'd position it. He'd spend forever adjusting the angle, moving it 3 inches left, then 2 inches right. Sometimes he'd even clean it afterwards, which was bizarre because I barely rode the thing. Mom started getting genuinely frustrated about it. She'd make sarcastic comments like, "Oh great, there goes your father with his mysterious bike obsession again." I remember one night she actually followed him out there, but he just said he was checking for rust, and she stormed back inside muttering about men and their ridiculous hobbies. I started feeling bad for Dad because Mom was being so harsh about it. He looked almost guilty every time he headed to the garage, like he was doing something wrong. Sometimes I'd catch him glancing toward Emma's room before going outside, and his face would get this sad, distant expression I couldn't understand. Emma was always asleep by then, or at least pretending to be. She was only 8 and had been in her wheelchair since birth. Back then, I didn't really think much about what that meant for her. I was just a typical selfish teenager focused on my own problems. This went on for almost 2 years. Mom kept asking what he was doing out there, and Dad would just shrug and say, "Checking the bikes," but it was always just my bike getting moved around. The garage sessions became this weird family tension point. Mom would slam dishes around while Dad was outside, and I'd retreat to my room to avoid the awkward atmosphere. Emma would always go quiet during these times, just sitting in her wheelchair by the window, staring out at the garage with this intense, longing look on her face. I started noticing other things too. Dad would come back inside with this peaceful expression, like those 20 minutes somehow recharged him, and Emma would always perk up right after he returned, asking him about his day or wanting to show him her drawings. When I was 16, my little sister Emma finally got brave enough to tell us something she'd been hiding. She'd been born with spina bifida and used a wheelchair, but she was too embarrassed to tell anyone how badly she wanted to learn to ride a bike like other kids. She broke down crying when she told us, sobbing about how she watched neighborhood kids ride past our house every day and felt completely left out. She said she used to dream about it constantly, imagining what it would feel like to have the wind in her hair and the freedom to go anywhere. Turns out, every night after dinner, Dad would lift Emma out of her wheelchair and help her practice balancing on my bike. He'd move it to different positions so she could practice getting on from various angles. Those 20 minutes were her secret bike riding lessons. Dad had been quietly teaching her for 2 years, letting her experience what it felt like to pedal and steer, even if she couldn't do it alone. He'd hold her steady while she gripped the handlebars, her face lighting up with pure joy as she felt that brief moment of independence. When Mom found out, she cried harder than I'd ever seen her cry. She kept apologizing to Dad for giving him grief about it, but he just hugged her and said he understood why it looked weird from the outside. She never learned to ride independently, but those garage sessions meant everything to her.